Assalamualaikum and hi Syahirah. I am Amyla Atiqah along with my three another group mates, Liyana, Amanina, Nurul, Syahirah and one Ainul, Afiqa. We are going to present our group assignment report entitled Business and the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs. First, let's start with the introduction part. Referring to the title, Business and the Sustainable Development Goals, the term business here defined as an organization or enterprising entity engaging in commercial, industrial and professional activities. Businesses may operate with different objectives, whether for-profit or non-profit, and also in different types of business. Each business also may differ in terms of its size that range from small to large business that may have few branches in various countries. On the other hand, the Sustainable Development Goals that is simply addressed as SDGs is also known as the Global Goals was introduced by the United Nations or the UN. This call to action from the UN focuses on variety of dedicated goals that designed to bring each UN members towards achieving the 2030 agenda of guiding several countries in the world to develop holistically. For your information, several international organizations, for example, the World Health Organization (WHO) has pledged its commitment on accomplishing the SDG that particularly focuses on health. Our beloved country, Malaysia, also respond to this call to action from the UN in achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs and striving towards to be a well-developed country in the near future. Now, let's move on to the background part. All these 17 complex and interlinked goals in the SDGs were introduced by the UN back in 2015, which aiming for a balance in social, economic and environmental sustainability. There are more than 100 countries supporting the integration of the SDGs into their national planning. For this report, we chose only 3 among all 17 SDGs which are majorly adopted by businesses in Malaysia. The 3 SDGs are SDG 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth, continue with SDG 3, Good Health and Well-being, and lastly SDG 12, Responsible Consumption and Production. All these 3 SDGs will be discussed by next presenters later. Now I'll pass the floor to Liyana Amanina to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Amyla. Now I'm going to present about the vision of the Sustainable Development Goals. The United Nations has set 3 main ambitious and transformational visions based on 5 groups, which are people, peace and prosperity, planet and partnership. Firstly, in terms of people, the UN aims to create a world that is free of hunger, disease and poverty in order to emphasize that each and every one of us has rights to have a comfortable shelter and get medical treatment if needed. Besides, the United Nations also wants to fight for safe drinking water and sanitation to ensure that people are getting safe, affordable, enough and nutritious food. In addition, the UN aims to make sure that the world is free of fear and violence. And lastly, they plan to create a world where people at all levels have an equitable and universal access to quality education. Secondly, in terms of peace, the main agenda of the SDGs is to create a world with a universal respect towards equity and equality. This means that everyone should respect human dignity and human rights, the rule of justice, law and non-discrimination, and race, cultural diversity and ethnicity. It is to ensure that people can maximize the usage of their potentials and skills. Other than that, the United Nations is fighting for the freedom of children, girls and women where there shouldn't be any barrier regarding legal, economic and social factors that may limit their empowerment. Thirdly, in terms of prosperity, planet and partnership, the United Nations plans to stimulate action to create a world where every country has an inclusive and sustainable economic growth with decent work for everyone. The democracy, government and law should be used to create a sustainable development, including social development, environmental conservation, and the eradication of hunger, poverty and disease at both national and international levels. Additionally, people should use the technology that is resilient, protects biodiversity, and climate sensitive in order to preserve our nature and wildlife from being destroyed by humankind. To sum up, These are the three visions that the United Nations aims will help the world to integrate and balance the three dimensions of sustainable development, which are the economic, social, and environment. Next, I'll pass to Syahirah to explain about SDG 8, which is Design Work and Economic Growth. Syahirah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Liyana, for the great explanation in the vision part. Now, I will continue with the research part in this presentation. I will begin with the SDG 8, which are about decent work and economic growth. SDG 8 aspires to promote sustainable and equitable economic expansion, employment, and decent work for all people regardless their gender, race, and demographic group. This can be accomplished via increasing the production and also technical innovation. As a result, we'll be able to eradicate forced labor, modern slavery, and human trafficking, since there will be a sufficient work demand to meet with the workforce supply. According to the article exploring the involvement of Malaysian business in Sustainable Development Goals SDG, SDG 8 has the greatest percentage, reaching 12% of overall SDG. This is because of the 12 Malaysian plan that are runs from the 2001 up to 2025, where all of the stakeholder voices will be heard. Why does Malaysian 12 plans have anything to do with the SDG 8? This is because in order to accomplish SDG 8, which are about decent work and economic growth, an entity must be able to invest in the face of uncertainty, construct a digitalized era with the sustainable practices, and also develop a sustainable strategy business. Stakeholders meet all of these requirements. Besides, the Malaysian government will also support the plan, as Islam is also strongly encouraged any consultation happen within plans. As a result, the government tried to provide dependable infrastructure, boost the economy, and train a qualified workforce. In the nutshell, the 12 Malaysian plan demonstrate that the government and also the businesses are actively participating in achieving the SDG 8, which are about the decent work and economic growth, so that the future generation can live in harmonious and also sustainable environment. That's all from me. Now I will pass the stage to Ainul Afiqa to continue the presentation on the research part.
So now I'm going to continue to the second part of the research section, which is about the SDG 3. The whole concept about SDG 3 is about health and well-being. It is very important for one people to have a good health and well-being, because it is not only benefit to themselves but also to their family, to their society, to their country, and also to the world. Hence why the United Nations has set up the third SDG with the theme of health and well-being of all at all ages. Now, before the emergence of COVID-19, we can see that most countries in the world focus on how to reduce the death rate that is caused by the NCD or non-communicable disease, such as cancer, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, and also cardiovascular disease. However, in early 2020, since the emergence of COVID-19, the world are aware of this deadly virus, and now they have shifted their focus on how to prevent this deadly virus from spreading wider. Press release has been published by the Ministry of Human Resources about the directive and compliance to the OSHA 1994 in regards to the COVID prevention at the workplace. There are two main things that have been highlighted in this press release, which consists of number one, the employee duty to comply, and number two, the employer duty to comply. For example, as for the employer, they need to make sure that the staffs of the worker are free from COVID-19. And as for the employee, they need to make sure that they sanitize the workplace frequently and also prevent from handshake. Now, there are a few forms of employee benefits that strive to achieve the third SDG. For example, flexible benefit plan, extended maternity leave, and also medical coverage. First of all, certain companies allow their employee to choose what kind of benefit that they want. Depending on each circumstances, they can choose the most suitable workers' benefit for them. And this is what we call as flexible benefit plan. Some people might opt for retirement benefits, but some people might want more the medical coverage. Now, the second one is extended maternity leave. There are also businesses who provide extended maternity leave for their female employee. Although the requirement, as stated in section 37, bracket 1, bracket A in Employment Act 1995 has underlined that each female employee may be entitled to 60 days leave. Any extended maternity leave can be up to 3 months or 90 days, and that is depending on the company policy. And last but not least, the medical coverage. Most large business firms or companies provide medical coverage to their employees. Most of the time, it is in the form of the insurance or medical card. Now, I would like to explain further about the 12th SDG. The 12th SDG is about the sustainability. So what is sustainability? Sustainability is the ability to maintain a process over a period of time. It aims to prevent environmental degradation as well as to ensure that the physical and natural resources will remain available in the future. Based on the Sustainable Development Goals 2021 by the United Nations, has included few facts and figures for us to review and take action on it. The first one is that it is reported globally an estimated 1/3 of all food produced will end up in the dustbin and also spoil. Therefore, to abide by the 12th SDG, there are a few businesses in Malaysia that has initiated to change domestic waste into something useful. For example, Micro Food Waste Composting Company has created a technology that can change food waste into a usable compost that can be used for agriculture purposes. Next one, the United Nations has also estimated that for us to remain sustainable, utilizing efficient light bulb will save up to $120 billion every year. Example of Malaysian business that initiate a progress to abide with this SDG is UOB Malaysia. So what UOB has done is that UOB Malaysia has launched U Energy, which allows more businesses and more homeowners to lower the electricity bills and costs, as well as to reduce the carbon emission and other, as it is a form of efficient energy. Now, I'll pass the mic to Liyana.
Thank you, Ainul. In conclusion, SDG 12, Responsible Consumption and Production, SDG 3, Good Health and Well-being, and SDG 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth are the most applied in Malaysian businesses. SDG 12 is aimed to preserve the natural resources from depletion, which can also be used by future generations. SDG 3 is targeted to increase the productivity of the workers as they work better when they are healthy, and SDG 8 is intended to encourage businesses to expand and provide employment and decent work for others. Hence, it is hoped that more business organizations in Malaysia are aware of the Sustainable Development Goals. It is important for the employers to set the company's goals with the SDGs as provided by the United Nations because it helps to promote a stable growth in terms of economic, social, and environment. From the 53rd and 54th verses of Surah Taha, it shows that Allah SWT creates the earth for people with a lot of resources from the rain and the plants. Thus, people are the ones who should be responsible to take care of the earth and use the resources wisely. Therefore, achieving all 17 Sustainable Development Goals provided by the United Nations is one of the alternatives that we can use to preserve and conserve our mother nature from being destroyed due to the excessive mankind power. With that, thank you.